Okay, so I'm gonna start with my presentation like this. So I know you can't read it because it's like opposite. So it says saving versus spending, and then it says financial literacy. So I have check, money, credit card, fast food, and then meals. So I'm gonna start off by asking basic questions that people would normally know, like which Pokemon character is the most popular, what football team or who performed at the Super Bowl. The recent Super Bowl was Rihanna, I think. And then like just basic questions that people would know. And then I'm gonna ask like, what's a FICO score? What's a grace period? What's revolving credit? Just like questions that people should know about financial literacy. And then I'm gonna make that point that people don't know enough about financial literacy, like the basics. So then I'm gonna start with this one, and it's just a preview of my 3 main points, and you can't read it, but it says consequences of not having financial literacy, room for improvement, how to avoid those consequences, and then overcoming and the benefits of financial literacy. And then, so I start off with the consequences of financial literacy with these 3 quotes. So one of them is, only 1/3 of adults could answer at least 4/5 financial literacy questions on fundamental concepts like mortgages and tax rates and inflation and stuff like that. And then there's another one that says 40% of Americans turn to family and friends for financial knowledge and help. So people like have to depend on other people for financial literacy. And then 44% of millennials say they have too much debt from student loans and mortgages. And I'm gonna cite these properly in person because I'm just not doing it now because I haven't figured out the proper citations. But with these numbers, it shows how not only college students but adults struggle with not knowing financial literacy, and it can lead to a lot of debt and impulse decisions. Like people just impulse spending, and they spend more than they earn, so then they depend on like credit cards and loans, and it's hard for them to pay it off because they spend way too much money, and then they procrastinate on saving. They don't really consider saving because they just have nothing to save, so they neglect it. And then they don't decide on their emergency fund. They don't like have any money to make an emergency fund, so they don't like if an emergency were to happen, like they get a ticket or they get in a car accident, they don't have that emergency money to make them feel comfortable. And then it also leads to not setting any financial goals, so that can really destroy your financial career. I need to hurry. Okay, and then my next one is room for improvement. So you can learn how to budget and gaining financial literacy and actually teaching yourself just to organize your money, and then understanding your credit score, understanding that like the worst credit score you can get is 300, best score is 850, and just knowing where you sit in that frame is really important, especially for like employers. I know employers will always they won't ever hire someone with a 300 credit score. They want someone who's responsible, so your credit score really shows that. And then it's important to like open a savings account. I know most of us have savings accounts, but if you don't, it's best to start as soon as you can. And to understand loans, that you have to pay them off. You have to pay your debt off to make sure that you can stay afloat. And then expect risk, make an emergency fund, have money to like lean on if you have an emergency. And then reduce spending or increase your income. This is always just a conscious thing, a mental thing. you kind of have to work on, and it can't happen overnight. But you can always increase your income. And then secure your future, set financial long and short-term goals. Secure your future, meaning like start your retirement plan, start your 401k plan and stuff like that. And then setting financial goals, make sure that they are smart goals, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. You can't have broad goals because there's little steps that you have to make to get to the big broad goals. So you have to make them small and specific to get to the big ones. And then measurable, make sure you can keep track of them, not just like oh, I want to be rich. Like that's not really, you can't really measure that. And then actionable, make sure you can take charge and take action in it. And then realistic, like obviously you won't set a goal that's like, oh, I'm gonna make $5,000 in 1 week. Like that's not realistic. I mean, you could, but not realistic. And then timely, just make sure that you give yourself enough time to make it, but also hold yourself accountable. And then there's the benefits of financial literacy, and I have these buckets right here. So the first one is housing, and that's probably the most important. Like you can't go without a house or a home. And then the second one is utilities, like stuff in your house, like I guess like your AC or your bathroom. You don't need like an AC on the whole time every day of the year, and you don't need to like use hot water the whole time. Food, it's really important to to just know like you probably spend a lot of money buying food at least twice a week at school, especially if you don't have a meal plan. You'd be surprised how much money you can save by just having meal prep at home. And then transportation, I know like people like get a big ego when they're driving, but you're burning a hole through your pocket with gas prices going up, especially with inflation. And then this fifth one right here is miscellaneous, but a lot of people take advantage of it, so just make sure that you are putting it into the right things, such as like investing or emergency, and obviously you can have just a little bit left over for fun. But these are like the benefits, meaning like when people learn financial literacy, they learn how secure it can feel when you do know financial literacy, and how much more happiness and security it can bring to you. And then my conclusion, the number one problem in today's generation and economy is the lack of financial literacy, especially with all of our debt that we're probably gonna have to pay with the government. It's necessary for us to know financial literacy and to have financial literacy, and